Anxiety in relationships when love is no longer enough. Christine is 44 years old, a beautiful home, a husband who loves her, 2 healthy children, a stable job, and every night, after everyone falls asleep, she sits in the bathroom, lights off, and cries. She doesn't know why. Or maybe she does, but she can't tell anyone. Because from the outside, everything looks perfect. In the previous episodes, we talked about what anxiety is and how to manage it. Today, we talk about the most painful place where anxiety lives, in the middle of our relationships, where the people we love most become, without meaning to, part of the problem, and where silence costs far more than any difficult conversation. The mechanisms of anxiety in relationships. Robert is 47 years old. He grew up with a father who never said, "I love you," who never embraced, who resolved everything through silence and distance. Robert swore he would be different, and he is, with his children. But with his wife, Anna, in moments of conflict, he disappears. Not physically, emotionally. He shuts down, becomes cold, unreachable. Anna tries to touch him. He pulls away. She tries to talk. He goes silent. She cries. He leaves the room. Not because he doesn't love her, but because his anxiety, inherited from that silent childhood, tells him that any conflict means abandonment. That if he stays in the conversation, he will lose everything. This is called in psychology emotional withdrawal. And it is one of the most destructive relationship patterns we know. Not born from cruelty, born from fear. Fear dressed in silence. Hurts more than any spoken word. Michelle, 39 years old, came to therapy after her husband told her one evening, calm and exhausted, "I can't be your anchor anymore. I'm drowning too." Michelle had called him 6 times that day, sent 14 messages, asked 3 times if he still loved her, checked twice whether his car was in the parking lot, not because she was possessive or unkind, but because, in her anxious mind, any moment of silence from him meant something was wrong, that he would leave, that she was not enough. Her cognitive schema, as we call it in cognitive behavioral therapy, was built on a deep, invisible belief. I am not worthy of love unless I am perfectly present and perfectly attentive. Her husband didn't leave, but their relationship fractured, not from lack of love, but from exhaustion. Michelle started therapy. She understood where that hunger for reassurance came from. She understood that reassurance doesn't calm anxiety. It sustains it. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. In the moment, it seems to help. Then the thirst grows stronger. Today, 8 months into therapy, Michelle sends her husband 1 message a day. It says, "I love you," and she gives him space to breathe. He told her last week it's the most beautiful message he receives every single day. Concrete solutions. If you recognize yourself in any of these stories, whether as the anxious person or the exhausted partner, I want to tell you something essential. You are not to blame, and neither is your partner. Anxiety in relationships is not a character flaw. It is a pattern problem. Patterns learned early, in childhood, when our brain decided that the world was unsafe and that love was conditional. There are 3 concrete things you can do right now. First, name what you feel, not what the other person does. Instead of, "You are never present," try, "I feel alone and that frightens me." This shift seems small, but in couples therapy, it is considered one of the most powerful transformations possible. Second, create deliberate moments of connection. Research by John Gottman, one of the most important relationship psychologists, shows that 6 seconds of eye contact and a 20-second embrace significantly reduce cortisol levels in both partners. 6 seconds, 20 seconds. That's all. Third, recognize when you need professional help. Couples therapy is not the last resort of a dying relationship. It is the most intelligent thing you can do for a living one. Emotionally deep closing. Robert entered individual therapy 6 months ago, not because his wife forced him, but because one night, watching her sleep, he realized he was losing her. Not because she was leaving, but because he had already been gone for a long time. Christine finally spoke. Not in the bathroom, lights off, but with her husband, at the kitchen table, tea gone cold and tears on her face. He didn't know what to say, but he stayed. And sometimes, staying is everything. Michelle and her husband go to couples therapy together, not because their relationship is broken, but because they chose to heal it, consciously, deliberately, with courage. Anxiety doesn't disappear from relationships overnight, but when two people choose to face it together, instead of facing each other with blame, something essential shifts. Healthy relationships are not those without anxiety. They are those where anxiety no longer has the final word. If today you recognize something in what you've heard, either in yourself or in your relationship, don't wait. Speak. To your partner, to a therapist, to someone you trust. Because the most expensive thing we pay in relationships is silence kept too long. One breath at a time, one step at a time. Together, always easier.